Okay, just who on earth is this man? Is he Shang's brother, the man marked by flames, the leader of the Holy Knights, or is he actually a living legend who we all long thought was dead? Well, in classic Oda fashion, somehow this new chapter created way more questions than answers, but we have to start by breaking down this very mysterious figure in the absolutely amazing final double spread page, showing all the characters now going for the One Piece. All of whom we're of course also gonna break down in detail in this video as well, but for now I really want to start by analyzing this very mysterious swordsman. And I want to start by asking the question, could this be the man marked by flames? I mean, it's definitely possible. After all, this page seems to be highlighting a bunch of people very important to the final push towards Laugh Tale in finding the One Piece, and we do know that apparently this man holds the secret to the final road poneglyph. At least both Kid and Blackbeard seem to believe so, as both their conversations in chapters 1056 and 1081 imply that it might just be necessary to find this mysterious dude if someone really wants to make it to the final islands. Considering that we've never seen the silhouette in the story before, he could just be pointing us towards another key person involved in claiming the One Piece. However, if he is actually the man marked by flames, what information can we gather about him from this single panel to uncover who this actually is? And while I think you'd be surprised that there's actually quite a lot, starting with the foreground element, his sword. Now, as a bunch of people have already pointed out, it does bear a shocking resemblance to Shanks' sword, Griffin. And that is actually incredibly helpful. For starters, it does show that he may be a person wielding another one of the Supreme Grade Blade. And while we technically don't know if Shanks' sword is also one of the Supreme Grade swords, the fact that he has clashed with the likes of Whitebeard's Murakumogiri and presumably Mihawk's Yoru really points to it being one, I think. Now, if that is the case, it may just be that Griffin could be part of a two-sword set, maybe named after a similar creature like a Sphinx or a Manticore or a Hippogriff. Who knows? All I do know is that these two blades are very similar, and that's probably not a coincidence knowing Oda. Now, the other thing that we know is that Griffin and this Mystery Man's swords are both sabers. Now, sabers are a very specific type of weapon used by European cavalry members, soldiers who ride horses. Now, its origins can be traced back all the way to Hungary, and it was often used by Slavic nations and forces such as Poland, but later they became very popular with the French, the Germans, and the British during the era of Napoleon. To which you might now say, why in the world is all this sword stuff so important? Well, first of all, it's cool, but also it could hint at the nationality and clan of the person using it. And that's because two other very prominent saber users who are heavily tied to one another are also on this double spread as well. I'm of course talking about the previously mentioned Shanks and the Supreme Commander of the Holy Knights, Figarland Garling. Now, introduced back in chapter 1086, this executioner shook the world of One Piece, especially when we learned just how involved he was in the God Valley incident, fighting against both the Roger and the Rocks pirates in order to protect the world nobles. Now, of course, he also bears an incredible resemblance to Shanks, and as we learned from lines about him and Uta in Film Red, it's basically official at this point that somehow Shanks is connected to the Figarland family and a member of it. Especially considering that he was found in a treasure chest on God Valley, the location of the Celestial Dragon's murder games. And although Oda has hinted at the fact that this is basically a fact, technically it hasn't fully been confirmed yet, so it is just speculation, but kind of 99% there yet. And so the important thing here to remember is that our mystery Shadow Man here uses the same style of sword as Shanks and Garling, and also just happens to be in a panel that mirrors the location of Garling and is on the same page as Shanks. Again, this is Oda we're talking about here, nothing is a coincidence. Now, this specific panel placement seems to even further connect all of these three together, and all of this might hint at yet another popular theory being true: fake Shanks. That's right, after all this time, it may just be true that this Shanks, the one we saw speaking to the Gorosei in chapter 907, isn't actually the captain of the Red Hair Pirates. After all, he does seem to be missing his iconic scar. And obviously, once we learned about his possible Celestial Dragon heritage, we all just generally wrote this scene off as the Gorosei letting him come up to Marijua because, well, he used to be technically a Celestial Dragon, but this new silhouette may indicate that this figure is the one talking to the Gorosei, not Shanks. So is he Shanks' twin brother? I mean, it is possible, or he just looks a lot like him and is actually something like his cousin or his older brother. And if we for a second assume that this is actually the case, then to me it's becoming increasingly obvious that this man is probably the current captain of the Holy Knights. After all, despite his high status, Garling is clearly not in his prime anymore. He is pretty old, and even if he were significantly younger than Garb, Roger, and Whitebeard at God Valley, which I'm not so sure he is, he'd still be out of his prime at this point. Which means that someone else, and most likely another Figarland member, would take up the title of acting captain. Meaning that this mystery figure looking like Shanks could be exactly that, yet another high-end member of the Figarland clan who is currently running the God Knights, while his father Garling oversees them like the fleet admiral does compared to the other admirals. And looking at it like this would basically let Garling associate with the older players like Garb, Rayleigh, or the man waiting in the wings, Scopper Gaban, if he ever shows up in the story, while his son actually handles the modern threats like the current Yonko. And looking back at it, this figure actually also resembles the man standing at the front of the Holy Knight silhouettes in chapter 1083 when Dragon was talking about them initially. Now, once we actually got to see Garling, I originally just wrote this off as yet another case of Oda using these silhouettes as placeholder designs like we saw with Big Mom and Kaido. I mean, remember these? But after this reveal in this chapter, I now think that Dragon might very well know exactly who he was imagining here, and it's our caped crusader right here. But now, before we move on to a few other options to who else this figure could be, I want to bring up one last thing about the Figarland family based on this chapter. You see, the last time that we saw a bunch of faces in a double spread was when Vegapunk was talking about the D-Clan during his speech a little bit earlier. And then suddenly we just see a bunch more of them in this chapter, and by my count, there's actually 3 confirmed D-Clan members and 4 if you count Sabo's honorary title as well among these. And now, based on what we previously theorized, Vegapunk was actually gonna say in chapter 1117 before the broadcast then glitched out that there may be a traitor among the D-Clan members, kind of how there was a traitor for Joy Boy amongst the Celestial Dragons, Lily. Which to me would then imply that there's a section of the D-Clan who possibly sided with the world government against Joy Boy and the rest way back during the Void Century. Which, if you get what I'm getting at here, could be the Figarlands. That's right, I'm saying that Garling's real name may actually be Figarland D. Garling, making Shanks and this mystery man also potentially carry the Will of D, which would explain why all of them would be involved in getting the One Piece. Again, just something to consider, especially going into this final saga where the Will of D is finally gonna be revealed to all of us, I hope, sooner than later. And also, I mean, it would just make a bunch of sense considering just who is involved in this double page spread. They are all people tied to or literally members of various D-Clans. And I mean, who knows, maybe this page is also teasing the legendary reveal of Rox the Buggy, making all current Yonko members of the D-Clan. After all, we did just find out that Professor Clover here was a D-Clan member, and I'm pretty sure there's yet a bunch of others to be revealed. In fact, everyone on this double spread could actually theoretically have the Will of D for all that we know at the moment. Alright, and obviously this idea is the frontrunner for me personally, but it's obviously also not the only possible answer to who this could be. I mean, theoretically, our mystery man here could also just be a historical pirate whose face we just never have seen before. Possibly a member of the Rocks Pirates we haven't seen, or more likely, the leader of them, Rox D. Xebec himself. I mean, may seem a little bit off at first, a little bit weird, but we still haven't seen this man in action at all. He's still a silhouette to this day, so what actually happened to him hasn't been revealed either, and there's a ton of Xebec stuff that I recently uncovered that could heavily connect him to this figure as well. However, that is a theory for another day, and to be honest, I often wonder why in the world we still haven't seen Rox's face and design. I mean, if this is a guy who is long gone and dead and out of the story, there's really no reason that during the Kuma and the God Valley flashback we still wouldn't at least get a glimpse of his basic design. I mean, even if the battle between him, Roger, and Garp is something that Oda is keeping up his sleeve, he easily could have just shown his face and broken the internet with that, right? I mean, why not just show us? Well, and so to me, this seems to kind of imply that we're gonna see that battle from Rock's perspective, and this mystery man might just be the reason that we do. I mean, if he is actually Rock's who somehow survived, it opens up a whole can of worms connecting the infamous pirate to the Figarlands, Shanks, and completely flip God Valley on its head. For all we know, maybe he's just been hiding out, waiting for the right time when Joy Boy returned to make massive waves. I mean, just look at Madara, who came back in Naruto, right? And we do know that allegedly Rox committed the world's worst taboos, and if Nico Robin and Clover are any indication, knowing the true history is probably quite high up there with those world-breaking taboos. Meaning that he could very well have taken one of the road poneglyphs for himself after Roger found Laugh Tale to prevent someone else from uncovering the true history by accident. I mean, for all that we know, Rox could have actually been the one who pointed Roger down the path of the One Piece after God Valley. I mean, if Rox, the man marked by flames, and this figure are all the same person, the final saga of One Piece is gonna break the internet even more than we already think it will. But you know what else is absolutely going to shake the One Piece world as well as the real world? Well, that's gonna be the final battle to claim the One Piece itself. And I'm nearly certain that Oda just officially revealed every single key faction that will be in the Laugh Tale arc itself. Because I mean, it's pretty clear to me that every single person on this final double page here is going to have a huge role to play, and they all may just get mixed and matched in the craziest ways possible on the final island. And that idea is also based on the name of the chapter itself, the ebb and flow of the ages. Jidai no Uneri, which is a direct quote from Roger in chapter 100, as well as the final page quote from Vegapunk that states the fate of the world will be decided by whoever finds the One Piece, whether that's the person that Roger intended to or not. I mean, the person that Roger intended to would probably be Luffy, but again, who knows? And so let's now start by breaking down each faction involved here. Obviously, we know that all 4 Yonko crews are currently going after it, and that's kind of the original group that we all thought would kind of compete for the One Piece in the end, the 4 Yonko. Now, Shanks and Blackbeard have acquired 3 of the rubbings after defeating Kid and Law respectively, and obviously we've seen Luffy get his 3 as well. Buggy and Crossguild, well, they're kind of slacking a little bit, but I'm pretty certain that he's got some secret up his sleeve to even out their chances of finding the One Piece as well. Next up, we have the Revolutionaries, who, despite not seeming super invested in finding Laugh Tale, absolutely do have a reason to find that island now that we actually think about it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, one major theory is that Monkey D. Dragon himself is the man marked by flames, sailing around the oceans on his dark ship, the Wind Grandma, sinking ships with his possible storm or wind devil fruit powers. And if that's the case, it would also be crucial to find the final island, and overall, it's just really cool to know that the Revolutionary Army might be making a move for Laugh Tale as well. Plus, considering the next faction I have to talk about, it's very likely that he's gonna be fighting alongside his son in the near future as well. And that's of course because Emu and Garling, and probably this new guy here as well we've been talking about, are also gonna be prominently featured as well. Now, here's the thing. Never once have we really heard or seen anything to imply that the Gorosei, Emu, or the mysterious Holy Knights really care about finding the One Piece themselves. Like, we do know that they care about the true history of the world, keeping that safe, and are really angry at Nefertari di Lily for spreading the poneglyphs, but nothing has really pointed towards them wanting to claim it for themselves. Like, if I had to explain it, to me, they've always seemed to be kind of playing on the defense, if anything, preventing people from finding poneglyphs or clues to their existence, but also obviously Roger Rayleigh and the rest of Roger's crew knowing about whatever the One Piece treasure actually is doesn't seem to bother them that much. I mean, if it did, that whole crew would have been wiped out at some point. I mean, Rayleigh just casually goes around everywhere and faces very little resistance, and Crocus is just chilling with his whale buddy. I mean, at this point, it seems like they would probably be going after the One Piece to stop Luffy or his father specifically, rather than claiming it for themselves. But it also seems that Oda is setting up the Gorosei and Emu and then the Holy Knights, maybe even as 3 different factions, all making an appearance on Laugh Tale as well. However, the same cannot be said for the last newly teased faction entering the race, which is the Marines. And among those characters, we see Kobe and Akainu, who are very good friends by the way, both of whom don't really seem all too interested in the treasure itself. But with Dragon and the Yonko going after it, they probably won't have that much of a choice. I mean, we even see a random Marine in this very chapter, like a page before, talking about how the Marines should just claim it for themselves first in this very chapter. But this is also interesting because there is one last character tied to both the Yonko and the Marines, and who knows, maybe the Revolutionaries as well, that doesn't fully seem to fit in here, at least not right now. And we're of course talking about the former Marine Admiral and current Titanic captain of the Blackbeard Pirates, Kuzan. Why is he included in this panel? I mean, Zoro, Beckman, Mihawk, and Crocodile aren't. Sabo is, but at this point his involvement with Imo and the Gorosei, as well as being the world's renowned Flame Emperor, have made him just as, if not more important than Dragon, because Dragon just refuses to do anything of significance in this manga. Still, I don't know, we'll get to him hopefully soon, but Aokiji, I mean, he seems to have a way bigger role to play in the endgame than we all probably thought. Which, of course, now leads me into my next wild thought. What exactly is this battle for the One Piece actually going to look like? I mean, what insane betrayals are in store? What cataclysmic battles are we gonna see? And almost as important, have we all been wrong about the structure of the final arc of the story entirely? Now, those were a lot of rhetorical questions, so let's now talk about some of the real possibilities for people to switch sides at the last minute and really create some drama that might have been foreshadowed throughout the story, starting with the man that we were just talking about, Kuzan. So much of how he acts, what he said, and who he's helped points to this man either being a Marine undercover for Sword, or being a revolutionary who's trying to accomplish some sort of world-saving mission by infiltrating Blackbeard's crew from the inside. It all just depends on how his battle against Akainu actually went on Punk Hazard. Now, me personally, I'm kind of leaning towards him now being a revolutionary because his picture matches the placement of Monkey D. Dragon on this double spread as well. Again, with Oda, I don't believe in coincidence. I do think that everyone's placement kind of mirrors who they are closely tied to in the final arc here. Sabo and Imu are connected through the Reverie, Garling and this mystery figure are most likely literally related, Kobe and Akainu represent Sword versus the regular Marines, as well as their standoff during Marineford of course, and Kuzan and Dragon are the disciples of Monkey D. Garp, who both turned on the world government, by the way, for what I assume is the Revolutionary Army, at least in Aokiji's case, which means that there's very likely some sort of wild betrayal happening during that final saga. But to be completely honest, it's probably not that wild. I mean, like, I think we all generally think that he's gonna flip and turn out to be a good guy, but I personally also think that Blackbeard isn't gonna be that surprised as well. I think it's gonna be like, Kuzan is like, oh, I was a good guy after all, backstab Blackbeard, and Blackbeard is like, yeah, of course you were. We all knew that we could not trust you. We just kind of used you for our purposes. Like, I don't think Blackbeard is dumb enough to like fall for that, but hey, maybe he will. We'll find out. Now, on the other end, I also believe we have the chance to see some truly wild alliance shifts with the inclusion of cross guilds. Like, a character like Mihawk could literally end up being on anyone's side except maybe the Marines or Blackbeard, since he really doesn't have any ties to them anymore at all. But I could absolutely see him gambling on the Straw Hats and assisting them, or flipping sides to help his good friend Shanks. And based on his cross theme and swordsmanship, I honestly wouldn't be too surprised either if he's actually a former member or at least somehow affiliated with the Holy Knights as well. Like, I personally really love the idea that Mihawk defected from the Holy Knights and joined the Pirates of the World in a similar way to how Don Quixote Homing and Nefertari Lily left the Celestial Dragons for the High Seas as well. And actually, speaking of Mihawk right now, if he is actually a former Holy Knight, I definitely could see him teaming up with Zoro to defeat Garling and our mystery character right here. I mean, especially since they are both swordsmen and definitely would need to get defeated before Zoro can battle Mihawk for the title of World's Strongest. However, then again, I do think it's more likely that Dragon and Sabo or Shanks and Mihawk will end up fighting them because narratively, they're kind of set up to be enemies already. I mean, the Holy Knights really have no connection so far whatsoever to the Straw Hats, but probably to all these other factions instead. And then, obviously, we have the Yonko battling it all out as well. I mean, could we see Cross Guild team up with the Blackbeard Pirates to fight against the Straw Hats and the Red Hair Pirates? Like, according to my little page placement theory here, it would basically stack them up against each other, and it would complete the cycle of Luffy and Shanks' first real enemies, Buggy and Blackbeard, battling it out in their final battle as well. Or who knows, maybe it's more gonna be like a battle royale, and maybe Cross Guild will duke it out with the Straw Hats while Shanks settles the score with Blackbeard. And how about the Marines? I mean, we haven't even touched them yet. Like, in the final arc, are they fighting the pirates or the revolutionaries? Will Akainu fight Luffy, Sabo, or Dragon, or all of them? I mean, he has beef with everyone at this point. And what about the Seraphim? I mean, with Lilith seemingly joining the Straw Hats, will she get them to join the good guys? Or is Mihawk gonna face down S-Hawk while Sabo or Ivankov take down S-Bear? I mean, realistically, my guess is that Kobe and Luffy will team up to battle Blackbeard, mimicking the final battle of God Valley with Garp and Roger squaring off against Rocks as well. But honestly, in reality, this is maybe the most insane thing about the reveal at the end of this chapter, because there are just so many possible matchups, and I'm pretty sure that Oda is gonna have some twists and turns in there for us that we're just not gonna expect. And actually, that is exactly why I think that we've all been wrong about the final arcs of One Piece altogether. I do feel like we've all been so focused on what order Luffy fights Akainu, Blackbeard, and Imo in, but that's not it at all. I mean, I think it's gonna be an all-out battle royale kind of battle for the One Piece, ancient weapons, giant gods, and every major faction relevant in this world all battling it out at once. Some of them teaming up, then betraying each other, and everything hanging in the balance all the time. It kind of seems to me that all three of Luffy's final villains are gonna be battling him at once in some order, probably not together, and honestly, who knows, maybe at this point, he's not even gonna be battling Imu or Akainu at this point. Maybe that is for someone else. Maybe Akainu is gonna flip to the good side. Who knows? Or at least not in the very order that we're all expecting it. I mean, everything in chapter 1121 has been pointing to the final arc being one battle, not a 2 or 3 level fight in like iterations. It's no longer who or what comes first, like Luffy versus the world government or Luffy versus Blackbeard, because all of these fighters might now very well set up to drop onto Laugh Tale at the same time, like a crazy game of Fortnite, I guess. At this point, really, who knows? Maybe Blackbeard will end up absorbing Imu's powers, and Luffy's final fight is gonna be teaming up with Kobe and Shanks to defeat a super-powered triple threat Blackbeard. It would really explain Oda's statement about a war way bigger than Marineford happening in the final saga as well. Like, Egghead Island is just coming to a close at least, and it's just the beginning of the most world-shaking events in the entire series. Like, we're pre-warm-up, we're just like walking to the gym right now. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. If you want a lot more One Piece, because there is gonna be a break next week, I actually compiled every single theory I talked about on this channel into this Giga video, which is 14 hours long. So if you have any big projects this week or over the next month, feel free to check it out. I think it's gonna be real fun working through that. And I mean, let me know at the end if you actually watched all of it. Otherwise, yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the next one, and then a new chapter in 2 weeks.